Introducing web application technologies. In this session, you will learn to identify the HTTP request response mechanism, distinguish between a website and a web application, identify the advantages and disadvantages of CGI. The displayed figure shows that the combination of the Hypertext Transfer Protocol or HTTP and the Hypertext Markup Language or HTML is considered as the foundation technologies of the World Wide Web. HTTP and HTML are complementary standards for the web. HTTP transfers instructions and data between machines. P holds the responsibility to retrieve and transmit the HTML files to and from the server. On the other hand, HTML is a language to create visually pleasing documents and create links between those documents. You can use HTML to embed images and other media objects in an HTML document. Such objects are stored in files on a server, and the type of file is described using the Multipurpose Internet Mail Extensions, or MIME, specification. In the displayed figure, there are 4 clients attached to the one server. Clients make requests to the server, and the server sends the response to the clients. So, let's understand the request and response process that occurs in the HTTP client-server architecture. As shown in the figure, the web browser sends a single request to the server. The request includes the location of the requested file or resource and information about the browser and its environment. Then, the web server receives the request and provides it to the HTTPD or HTTP daemon service that determines the file that is being requested. Accordingly, the server sends the data file back as a response. The response contains the requested resource and other information. It can be plain text or a combination of plain text and binary data. Finally, the browser interprets the response and represents the content on the screen. A website is a collection of HTML pages and other media files that contains all the content that is visible to the user on a given web server. These files are stored on the server and might include a complex directory hierarchy. Internally, the website is composed of that directory hierarchy. This structure might be visible to the end user in uniform resource locators, URLs, that identify each page. The displayed figure shows a directory structure of a website. Here, docroot is the root directory that contains all the files and directories of the website. The index.html file is a special file that is used when the user requests a URL that ends in a / character. A uniform resource locator, or URL, locates a specific resource on the Internet. The structure of a URL is composed of a protocol, host, port, path, and file. In the example, HTTP is the protocol and www.soccer.org is the host. AT represents the port and league represents the path. Finally, spring2001.html is the file in the URL. The displayed table shows the points of difference between a website and a web application. The Common Gateway Interface, or CGI, is a mechanism that allows a user to invoke a program on the web server. When a website includes CGI, it is known as a web application. The displayed figure shows the execution of the CGI programs in the web application architecture. The browser sends a request to the server using a URL. The server receives the request and identifies the CGI program to execute with the help of the URL. This CGI might be a script or an executable file. The CGI program parses the CGI data in the request, processes the data, generates a response, and provides it to the web server. The web server wraps the response in an HTTP response, and then the response is sent back to the web browser. It is important to note that at runtime, a CGI program is launched by the web server as a separate process. The process executes the code of the CGI program that resides within the server's file system. In addition, each new CGI request launches a new process on the server. This results in a slow response, high resource usage, and poor scalability in the server. The CGI programs have several advantages. They can be written in a variety of languages, although they are primarily written in Perl. Also, a CGI program with bugs does not crash the web server. Another advantage of the CGI programs is that they execute in separate processes, and as a result, concurrency issues are isolated at the database. The CGI programs also have some distinct disadvantages, the primary being a high response time and low scalability. Also, the languages for the CGI programs are not always secure or object-oriented. Another disadvantage of the CGI programs is the intermixing of the CGI code with the HTML code. This is not desirable because the presentation logic and business logic should always remain separated. Because of these disadvantages, developers need other CGI solutions. Servlet is one such alternative solution. In this session, you learned that the browser sends the HTTP requests to a server and the server sends the HTTP responses to the browser. A website is a collection of static resources only, whereas a web application is a website with a dynamic functionality. Servlets are considered to be better than CGI for creating a web application. Happy learning!